Cooties!
Hey everybody, this is Jim Reed and John Blevins in the house for the 8th episode of Unleash the Podcast. The biggest and first piece of news on the docket is that John's computer has died.
Yep, but that did not stop me from waving into the camera even though I know it's not on.
Right, so we're pretending like it's no different, but you won't be able to see John today. Thankfully, he's got this super stylish, devil may care photograph on his Skype account that I get to use. So you guys get to look at that all night. Congratulations.
Courtesy of doucheware.
Right? But guys, we have Black Rock Mountain to talk about, and it's podcast time, so...
Hey everyone, get in here!
We may or may not be playing that about like 400 times today throughout the course of the show. So be ready for that, since we wouldn't want the show to be any different than Ladder, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right. So what we're going to do first here is we're going to talk about our experience through the first wing of Black Rock Mountain. I know I had a ton of fun with the encounters. I thought they were a little easy, but what did you think, Jen?
Yeah, I thought pretty much the same thing. Especially the non-heroic was basically just kind of a joke. Like, it was super easy. Like, you can basically take any deck you want and just beat it, if not on the first try, then the second try, with literally any amalgamation of cards.
Right.
Which is good and bad. It's good in that people who are just starting to play can just take their basic decks and physically get the cards. And then if you want to beat the heroic decks, then you got to kind of tail your decks. But even this heroic wave was pretty. I thought it was kind of simple compared to the Nax ones. What did you think about it?
Well, somebody told me that the Nax first wing heroics were kind of a softball too, but. I don't know. The arena was tough. Like, I had some trouble with that, but I was really determined to make my initial instinct work. I didn't abandon Freeze Mage fast enough, which I think is just awful for that fight. But I know some other people had a lot of success with it, and I just couldn't quite get there, and I ended up having to switch. Like, I lost like 9 times with Freeze Mage. It was just about the literal worst. Yeah. But I one-shotted the other 2 fights, so I gotta say I didn't have too much difficulty overall. And when I finally switched to a modified Oil Rogue deck for the arena, it only took me 2 games. So
yeah, I just played the Mill Rogue deck that we were brewing at the beginning of the week. I just threw that in there, and I think I got it on the first or second try.
Yeah.
I think the first try I got really close. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this. And I think the second try I got it.
Like, I guess the main difference to me here was, like, they really put some bad cards in those decks for the opponent, right? Like, they just kept playing Millhouse Mana Storms.
Yeah. Well, that was actually interesting because I saw a video of a guy who just turn 2 killed him because of Millhouse. So I don't know if you saw this video, but it was with Shaman, and you play the Ancestral Calling or whatever the Show and Tell card is in Hearthstone.
Right.
Both players put a minion from their hand into play, and so the opponent goes turn 2 Millhouse. You have all your spells are free this turn. So you play the Ancestral Calling. You put a Gadget Zan Auctioneer into play.
Oh jeez.
And the only other minion in the deck is Alakir. Everything else is a spell. So you just chain off your entire deck, get an Alakir, keep pumping it up, use the card that kills it and brings it back at full health. I don't remember what it's called. But long story short, you get to one turn kill the arena on turn 2, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome, and that's kind of exactly what I was talking about. How even when they're easy, and that's why I didn't mind that they were easy. Like I still had an excuse to go out and like I took a look at the fight. I figured, what's his hero ability do? Okay, that gives me enough of an idea what he's doing, and like with and you do the normal mode. So I just picked like you said like ladder decks or whatever and went at the normal mode and one shot at all three of them. Like like you said, those were an absolute cakewalk. And then you kind of get an idea for okay, well the heroic mode is just going to be an amped up version of this. So you knew what to do building your decks going into it. So I went straight into Grim Guzzler's fight where he's putting free minions of mine into play with a Ramp Druid deck where I had Innervate, I had Wild Growth, Wrath, Swipe, and then nothing else cost less than 7 mana, and it was all minions.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what I for that one too. And then the class challenge I think is really where this week shined.
Yes.
I think the mage class challenge was basically what everyone deep down in their hearts always wanted when they saw the card.
Right.
But it's literally just you have 30 unstable portals in your deck.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. I had a super good time with it because my opponent, like I said, just played terrible cards and goes turn 2 Millhouse Mana Storm. So I portal 5 times and hit like 4 3-drops and just won instantly, just like one out. It was just the dumbest thing you could imagine. And even like I'm playing like 5 drops at that point because I didn't spend any mana this turn. I've got 2.
Right.
I've got 2 to hang out. So it was just really, really awkward.
Yeah, the best part, I think they really, really nailed it. We talked about this before, that overall Nax was fun, but in terms of especially the class challenges, they were just kind of bleh, kind of just boring. Like, oh, here's the new card, here's a deck with that card in it, go play. Except for the web spinner challenge, which was I think just agreed everyone's favorite class challenge, and probably everyone's favorite part about Nax was the fact that you just get to play with 30 web spinners. And this is the 30 unstable portals is really great. I think the only disappointing part about the 30 unstable portals deck is that they don't have a play against your friend with these decks variant. Like, I think it would be super sweet if they just let you play with 30 unstable portals against each other. I like, it's not going to be balanced. It's not going to be anything, but it would be a whole heck of a lot of fun.
I think it's actually perfectly balanced Hearthstone.
I mean, like, the problem is one person has the coin, right? So, like, there's just, I don't know.
I can't even think that factors in too much in this circumstance.
Probably not. It's probably perfectly balanced, but maybe they should just have all tournaments just be 30 unstable portal left.
Right. Like, it really probably can't be bad. And they've, like, it would be cool to have some, like, no, like, I don't know, like, we're going to, in the after show today, we're going to play kind of an interesting, fun format where we're literally, I win if I die. So your goal is to kill yourself rather than your opponent. Right. So, and we both have 2. Are you similar to the one we did in testing?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay. Is it safe to say that we're still using 2 separate strategies?
We are using 2 separate strategies. Yes.
Okay. So
That would not be fun.
I no longer have any idea what John was doing, but for instance, he's not playing it in the after show. Like, he played a priest deck where his goal was to heal me, keep me alive while he milled himself, or plenty of times he's milling both of us. But if you're one person's a mill strategy and the other one's not, then controlling it is more important than actually having like a big lead on your opponent.
It's supposed to be a combo deck where you get a bunch of minions out and you heal them all with Northshire Cleric, like 2 Northshire Clerics, and then you just have like 1 turn where you draw a ton of cards. But it didn't. I didn't get it to work out as well as I wanted it to. So, and the list also probably wasn't optimized. I think well, we'll talk about it more later in the after show, but I think it's a really fun format.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun in testing. But to get kind of back on track here a little bit, we're just going to recap a little bit and talk about some of these cards from the wing that was unlocked last week. Two of these are almost separate conversations on our show today. So Grim Patron we're not going to talk about too much because we're going to take a look at a Grim Patron deck today in the deck tech. And the Emperor has its own conversation, so we'll just save it for last and move straight into it. But me and you, John, both were pretty amped up about Gang Up. Myself, a little more than you. And I think it's safe to say both of our opinions of that card have fallen since we've gotten the opportunity to play it. So talk about what your experience is with Gang Up and if you are down on it at all.
Yeah, so the dream was just this idealized game state where you're playing the Mill Rogue deck. You know, you're spending your turns, milling them out, and then the problem is that most of the mill effects are both players get milled the same amount. So you need a way to break the parity, right? So Cold Light Oracle, we both draw 2 cards. You need a way to break that parity. So in the abstract, playing Gang Up just puts 3 more cards in your deck, and those 3 cards happen to be your win condition, Cold Light Oracle. So in the abstract, without having actually played the card, it's like, oh, this is just going to be a perfect fit. It's going to solve all of my problems. Mill Rogue is going to dominate the format, yada, yada, yada. Well, after actually playing the deck, it turns out that your opponent actually does things in the course of a game. So spending your turn not actually doing anything at all to affect the board is really not that great when your opponent is playing anything even remotely aggressive. Now, I did have some mild success with the deck the first couple days it was out, and I mean it was at in the lower ranks, rank 16 or whatever. The deck was a lot. Don't let me fool you. The deck was a lot of fun to play. I don't know if it was the greatest. I know I wasn't playing it the greatest, so maybe it probably has a lot more, at least a little bit more potential than I give it credit for. But after playing it, long story short, Gang Up was probably the worst card in the deck.
It was certainly pretty close. I definitely can agree with you there. I played it, I think, a little bit longer than you did because Mill Rogue is one of my favorite strategies. So when it's at all viable and very competitive, you can count on me playing it. I'm not playing it right now, so listen, I think the deck it's okay. It's good if you want to play it. Like John said, it is one of, and it's it's not my favorite deck for no reason. It is super fun. I can't express to you how great it feels to sap somebody that has 10 cards in their hand. It's just Ancient of War, cute. And if you don't know, it just gets destroyed. It's got nowhere to go. The hand is full, so, the graveyard that doesn't exist eats the card. And I just, like you said, Gang Up is possibly the worst card you can put in there. I think when it looks like it's super good, you didn't need it.
Right.
You end up, guys, you send these awesome screenshots to people where your opponent has no deck, you only got 2 cards left, and you've got 5 Cold Light Oracles in your hand. You only need 2 of them. So, I was thinking maybe there's value in the card. I don't think it's win more, but I think as a 2 of, it's win less. But maybe as a 1 of is the right spot for it.
It very quickly got cut down to a 1 of, and I don't know, it just seemed like it was lackluster if you weren't targeting the Cold Light Oracle. You basically never wanted to target anything else except for the Cold Light Oracle, maybe an Antique Healbot. But the problem is that if you're targeting an Antique Healbot, it's probably against a Hunter or another very aggressive deck, and you don't have the time to wait and draw the extra Antique Healbots. That's the problem.
Right.
And if you don't ever draw the Antique Healbot in the first place, then it's really not doing anything.
So maybe you should just be playing Shadow Step.
I mean, I am playing Shadow Step. Shadow Step is one. Well,
No, yeah, that's true. I'm in my list. I was playing Shadow Step as well.
I mean, the decks are always running Shadow Step.
Right.
The problem is that if you don't like against the aggressive decks, if you don't draw your anti Keelbots, you're really in bad shape. Unless, and this ended up being the MVP in the deck for me. The Death Lord,
Yeah.
just bouncing the Death Lord for value ended up being the best thing. But that really kind of makes you think. You don't need to play that in a mill rogue deck. You could just play that in like a control rogue if that ever could be a thing. You could just play the Death Lord, and then you still have sap.
Right.
So you can just sap whatever they get, or eviscerate it, or one of the other 30 like great tempo plays.
Prep Vanish.
Well, I don't know. Vanish is probably more of a mill rogue exclusive, though I could see it being played. It's a really powerful card if you build the deck around it.
Well, I mean, it has to be rogue because of the class designation on it. What were you talking? Did I miss what you were talking about? Or were you talking about a different deck?
About Death Lord doesn't have to be in a mill rogue strategy. It could be in another type of rogue strategy.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think Gang Up probably is best if you were to try to devise a more fatigue rogue would be different than mill rogue in the sense where having all the anti Keelbots is part of that plan as opposed to just Cold Light, which you'd only want to do towards like maybe the end of a game.
Right.
And I think you'd want to prioritize the Healbots in a fatigue style rogue deck. So I'd be curious to see if somebody could tune fatigue rogue, which has gained popularity as well as mill rogue. I think we still kind of lump them together for the most part because at the moment they're very, very similar. But it'll be really interesting to see. The card's not unplayable. I thought it was going to be awesome. I thought it was going to be good in some like value control decks for rogue, and realistically it makes it harder to draw the outs that you need if they're not the creature you're putting into your deck. Right. And you still, like, often as not, have a lot of cards in your deck, so it's not super likely that you're going to pick it up, and you don't always get it back very quickly. So it's not something you do when you need the card. It's something you do when it fits your overall endgame strategy and you've got time to draw into it.
Right. I could see it possibly shoring up the like warrior matchup, like in a tournament setting where you only have to play it once, or like if somehow you get put in a point where you need to win against the warrior with the rogue. I think that Gang Up might be able to get you some legs, though the warrior deck has kind of changed as well, and I think we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But
yeah, for sure. We're going to definitely be taking a look at the meta as a whole, but we've got just a couple more cards to look at here before we move on to the Emperor conversation. And just to get them out of the way, Quick Shot was a replacement for Wolf Rider, just like we said, and Dragon's Breath is for the most part pretty bad, although I have seen some play in some kind of really bursty mage decks, but I don't think they're very good. And I don't think it's actually anything to worry about.
I haven't seen it at all in Constructed. I've seen it in Arena, and it does have a really sweet animation, which is pretty cool.
I don't know that I can even remember what it is.
It just like looked kind of like Flame Cannon, but more dragon-y and awesome. It was pretty sweet. Yeah, but everything I've seen with Quick Shot has literally just been take out the Wolf Rider or take out some card in Face Hunter and play Quick Shot. Kibler actually wrote an article about why it's not just a replacement for Wolf Rider, but like I really want to give Kibler the benefit of the doubt for everything involving card games, but from reading the article, I just feel like he didn't actually play that much Face Hunter. Like, I feel like he kind of took more of the I'm going to think about how this card should work in the meta or how it should work in Face Hunter, and that's how I'm going to write about it. But I actually haven't played the 800,000 games that Blevins has. and I don't actually know how like the matchup really works out. Which I could be wrong. Maybe Kibler has played it that much, and maybe I haven't played it as much as he has. But just from reading his article, it just kind of seemed like he made more assumptions rather than statements based on experience he's had. So I don't know.
I mean,
It was interesting, an interesting read nonetheless.
I mean, you can talk all day about the theory of like, you know, Wolf Rider doesn't necessarily have to die, but like for real, it just dies every time, right? So we can not actually worry about it.
Right. So I was playing against it the other day, and like I didn't kill the Wolf Rider, and I just lost the game on the spot. Like, like I don't know, maybe you know, maybe those games happen, but I was playing a bad deck, so.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm not 100% sure whether, you know, I'm not a hunter player, so I'm not 100% sure the spot it should go in. But to me, I've seen a whole lot less Wolf Riders come out of Face Hunter, and everybody's using Quick Shot. So to me, it's, even if it's not what, you know, everybody's doing or even what's correct, well, I don't know if we might be down or not. Sorry about this for the YouTube guys, but
I don't know. I mean, I'm still here. I can still see it.
Right? Yeah, I haven't dropped any frames, so we're just going to continue on like it's not not happening, I suppose.
Can you see the stream right now? I mean, I could probably actually check.
I don't know. I'll check it out, but we'll continue talking because now we're going to take a look at Resurrect a little bit. It looks like actually Twitch as a whole is having a problem, so that would be largely pretty unfortunate. But
the show must go on.
Yeah. Anyways, so Resurrect, I just don't know if it's even going to upload cleanly now, to be perfectly honest with you. I can't edit it after the fact, whatever. I can start to...
Local record?
Yeah, I'm going to locally record, and we'll continue.
Like a soft intro or like an editing intro right now, just in case the beginning didn't happen?
We can. I'll do that. I'll get.
Oh, we don't need to do like the formal intro. We can just do like a, hey guys, in case this didn't work, we're doing this because blah blah blah.
Yep. All right, so yeah, we'll just. Oh man, everything's freaking out. Okay, well, I hope it didn't go live because now we've taken such a long break. I almost hope it is broken. But hello, everybody. Welcome to Unleash the Podcast. There were some issues with Twitch, so we started a local recording, and we're not sure what impact it will have on the upload. So we're currently talking about what we saw last week in Black Rock Mountain. We haven't been through too much of the show, so hopefully everything kind of goes smoothly. And but anyways, my name is James Reed, and over there is John Blevins, whose computer's recently crashed, which we've already explained.
It's okay.
But yeah, so like I said, we're reviewing BRM. Yeah, he doesn't have any video this week, so you just get that awesome Devil May Care photograph of him over there. And yeah, we're going to keep going with our review of the Black Rock Mountain set. And we're going to start by picking up with Resurrect. Resurrect is a pre-spell 2 mana, summon a random friendly minion that has died this game. And I thought it was really interesting to see exactly how this played out watching a Maz stream the day it happened. And he was like not able to figure this card out and just like almost giving up on it on stream. Like, I guess I was wrong and this is bad. But it turned out not to be bad. John, have you played with Resurrect at all yet?
I haven't played with it, but I have played against it.
Yeah. What did it bring?
So the first time I played against Priest on the new ladder, I was just playing normally, and he plays out his injured Blade Master, and I'm like, he didn't circle. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I'll just value kill it, and then he the next turn resurrects, and I'm like, oh. And I proceeded to win because that wasn't even really that good. Like, like it basically the Resurrect traded for a 2 mana spell, in like the Knife Juggler or something. I don't remember what it was. So I had like a 2 mana minion. I traded it into his guy, and then he next turn I think he coined it, so it was probably on turn 3, played Resurrect and a 4/7. The problem is that if you like boil it down at the end of it, like he just traded his Resurrect for a 2-mana spell, which really isn't that great. Like if he just played Circle of Healing, he would have been in better shape. And that's for like the best minion you can get, right? Like if you get a Northshire Cleric back, it's really not that great. If you get anything else, it's really not that great. So I don't know. I'm really not that. I'm not sold on the card yet.
I am kind of sold on it. I like it quite a bit. I think you structure your deck and your play differently. I don't think you play a Northshire Cleric on turn 1 unless you're playing against Hunter.
Right.
You know, I think it just tweaks the way you're approaching the gameplay of Priest. And I've been a big fan of it so far. I haven't gotten the opportunity to play it much because I don't have a lot of confidence in my Priest skill, and I continue not to have infinite time to play Hearthstone like I would like. So I haven't been trying to branch out and learn these new decks even in the early parts of the season. Like I'm just trying to rank up as fast as I can. Currently at 9, hoping to improve that by a rank or 2 tonight before bed. But yeah, so I think you play. You know, the value of getting the injured Blade Master back is huge because not only does the Resurrect trade with that 2-mana spell, so I'm the control deck and I took a card from your hand and I'm happy about that. But also it was the Circle of Healing that you said you if I would have just played this, I'd be in the exact same spot. You did play it. And you also pulled the Wrath out of their hand.
Right.
So I think it's an early game way to start to generate some card advantage and really gain some tempo back on the board. And additionally, I think it scales great into the late game because the percentage of times where, yes, you're eventually going to have to play that Northshire Cleric, and it's possible that you get it. But it wouldn't be Hearthstone if it wasn't possible for you to have some bad effects go on your side of the board. I've seen it bring back Emperor. Right? Like... I've seen it bring back Shadow Priests. You know, it brings back some very, fine mid-game creatures. And I think if you play your late game of, like, Ysera all of a sudden, very late in the game, it can be almost an auto win. Like, you're top decking and I just get in a 2-mana Ysera.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It definitely does have some more value that I'm giving it credit for. I just don't think it is. Oh, I think that the card definitely has potential later. Like the more cards, the more like you said, mid-game minions that come out that are good, the more lower cost Death Rattle minions that come out make this card even better too. Because you basically just get double Death Rattle off of this. Sadly, it doesn't work as well with Battle Cry effect, but you're almost always getting your 2 mana worth on it, so
yeah,
it's almost never a bad deal.
Right. It's very seldom a bad exchange, so it's something that will get better as we go, and it's already in the current form of the deck and everything a fairly playable card at the moment, I think. Speaking of very, very playable cards at the moment, Mr. T. Okay, this guy is really, really strong, and he's just been a house in a lot of scenarios, and he's instantly, because we wouldn't be the Hearthstone community if we didn't cry for nerfs, pretty much instantly been being called out as a card that needs to be nerfed. And that can certainly happen with, new legendaries and things like that, but John, do you think this is at that point where it has to be fixed for the health of the game?
It's kind of close. I don't think so, personally. I think that it opens up a lot of really good opportunities for you to do things that might not necessarily be fair, where you get to play your Druid combo earlier, or you get to set up the old school Gore Howl, Alex Straza combo with charge, like the old combo warrior deck used to play, just because it gives you so much mana. The problem is is that it's not necessarily degenerate, and I don't think it's toxic for the environment. I think that this makes the games a lot more fun, which maybe that's not what they want for the competitive environment, but it certainly is something that they want for the overall health of the game. I don't think that it's not the same sort of thing as Dr. Boom, where Dr. Boom is just really powerful, and it's basically just his raw stats and raw power that is the value. Emperor, he really he creates such a unique and interesting game states that I think that he's here to stay in his current form. Honestly, I don't know what you would do to make him, like, to nerf him, except make him cost like 8 mana or something, at which point, like...
It's the exact number I was going to say.
Right, like if you make him like, do you keep him as a 5/5? Because then he's just not playable at all, right? Like, would you make him like Kel'Thuzad? Is he even worse as Kel'Thuzad? Like 8 mana, 6/8? Like, I don't know. Probably. The problem is that what people are really calling for the nerfs for is because you don't have a direct answer to him. Once he's on the field, your opponent gets the bonus from him. You can't silence him and take it away. You can't kill him instantly and take it away. You can't really even, like with Lotheb, he does his thing when he comes to play. But you could, in theory, just play Lotheb against Lotheb and get the same effect and effectively counter it. Or, I mean, like, there's ways to play around Lotheb. Emperor, if your opponent plays Emperor and then you play Emperor, the person who played the first Emperor is just always in favor every time. Like, I don't know. I like the card a lot. I don't think it needs to get nerfed.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that people are just whining because the metagame shifted and, like, the way you used to play your Ramp Druid deck doesn't work anymore. Like, you don't get to be reactive with a deck like Ramp Druid anymore. I think you have to be proactive, and that's funny because a lot of people think this card belongs in Ramp Druid, and it probably does, to be fair. It definitely does, but
Definitely.
Right.
It definitely does.
But you still have to play your deck a little differently. Like, you need to be playing the piloted shredders. You can't be sitting back on a million 7-drops. Maybe you cut Cenarius because at 9 mana is just a huge number, and the effect of Cenarius has always been okay, good, not great, I guess. Like, it doesn't always see play in Druid, so maybe this isn't a time where you do. But at the same time, I think it's inevitable that at some point this card will get nerfed.
Yeah, it could. I don't know if it really needs to.
It might have a pretty negative effect on their ability to design cards in the future. If everybody's playing Emperor, like, they have to be careful as they design the next card set. They have to think about the implications of this card, and I think it's kind of like what they did with Gadgetzan Auctioneer. It was like, what can we even make in Rogue anymore if it's just...
Right. The problem is with Gadgetzan Auctioneer, it literally doesn't matter what spells you have as long as they cost 2 or less and you have them. Like, any spells, and then you get to draw cards, and then it just chains. With Emperor, it's like, okay, so if he has Alexstrasza and Charge in hand, then yes, he can 1-turn kill off of that, where normally he wouldn't be able to. That would be exactly 10 mana. So, like, that's such like a corner case, like, niche thing, like, that's not really that big of an issue. Whereas with Gadgetzan, it's like, okay, you've got this, you go, spell, draw 3 more spells, then even if they kill the Gadgetzan, your hand is full, you cleared their board, you're going to kill him next turn. With Emperor, yes, there's the opportunities where you play him, you've got 7 cards in your hand, you gain 3 Innervates and a coin, basically.
Right.
And then you can do something that would be completely broken, like play 2 Savage Roars or 2 Savage Roars and a Force of Nature, 2 Force of Nature, like, whatever. But that's not going to happen every time you play it, no matter what cards are in your hand, like with Gadgetzan. This, you need a very specific set of cards to do things that are truly, truly broken. I mean, it's always good to have the cost reduced, but it's not always broken like Gadget Zane is.
So my best Emperor or Mr. T turn, and I'm not kidding you, this all happened in one turn, is Sylvanas Brawl, okay, which normally isn't allowed, and then, no lie, Gromash, Gromash and Cruel Taskmaster, all in one turn. The most disgusting thing I've ever seen. But the guy, like, I couldn't realistically answer his Sludge Belcher. So, like, I had two turns where I'm like, kill the Belcher. Okay, my guy's still alive. He can't answer it. I can't answer it. Like, or then I play my own Belcher, so he's not able to attack into it anymore. And, like, it just ended up being alive for, like, 4 turns before it finally died. And I was just able to like, it was like, yeah, 1 mana brawl. It was like, I still had 7 mana left after I Sylvanas brawled.
Okay, so the argument I just made, that whole thing, was based on him being in play for 1 turn. Anything after that, then he's absolutely broken.
Yes, he literally has to be killed right away.
There's no doubt in my mind that if you leave him out for more than 1 turn, you just lose the game on the spot.
Right. It definitely happens. But, excuse me. I do think this guy will, at some point, like I said, have to be nerfed. That's just my opinion. It's not necessarily true, and I think it's telling that we both wanted to say, like, is he even playable at 8 mana? And there's a reason we jumped up 2, and that's because he's definitely playable at 7. In his current 5/5 form, I think, because of the effect that he does have on the game. Maybe he wouldn't be as playable, but he would contest with Dr. Boom in some scenarios, or maybe just there'd be 2 7-drops in decks now.
The problem is that the like every mana up or down, that like coining this guy out on turn 5 is so much better, just because you have that you have more cards in your hand. Like, if you play him on turn 7, unless you just were like holding cards in your hand, like he's worse, right? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. And also the ability, like on turn 8, even if you do play him on turn 8, like the ability to go him plus a spell is way better. Like, if he costs him 1 extra mana at 5/5, it's just so, like, it's so underwhelming. The stats are so bad. Like, if you go like Emperor on turn 7, your opponent goes Boom on turn 7, I feel like the Boom is probably better. Like, I mean, maybe it's close. It obviously depends on the decks, but I think just in the abstract, like, given a random hand from a random deck,
Right.
then Boom is just the, like, overall power level and board presence of Boom is going to be better than the Emperor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the stats are definitely terrible. When you think I'm spending 6 mana on a minion, you expect at least Boulder Fist Ogre to come out of it, and you're not getting that here.
Boulder Fist Ogre's not even playable. Like, Toshli is 5/7, right?
5/6, I think.
No, I think he's 5/7.
It could be. Very possibly.
He's either a 5/7 or 5/6, and he's like fringe playable and has a pretty good battle cry and death rattle. So.
Yeah, I think, and he's like only played in something where you have Antonidas, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
So yeah, the legendary becomes a mage. I mean, or
So
the neutral legendary becomes a mage.
short is we're not arguing whether this card is good. We're arguing whether it needs to be nerfed.
Right. Yeah, and like we're both on the, like, I could see it, but I don't know how they do it and keep it good. So you'll see it like in this form for quite a while, and they're not going to be in a hurry to nerf it. They're going to make us prove that it has to happen.
Right.
So don't expect it to be anything quick, and please, for the love of God, shut up about it. Anyways.
I just spent a half hour talking about it.
Well, you know, there's that as well. But we're going to talk about it intelligently and then move on. And feel free, by all means, to do that. But I'm also trying to, like, stretch this out a little bit because we just lopped off 20 minutes off the beginning of our show. I feel like guaranteed, as Twitch is still down and we're going to be going off this local recording.
Nice.
So welcome, and sorry you missed all of our cool anecdotes about the first week of Black Rock Mountain Clears. Anyways, let's take a look at what the metagame is doing currently with these. What did we get? 6 cards added to the metagame, and things are pretty different. Oil Rogue, Handlock, and Midrange Hunter are seeing a lot less play across the board. So, John, why is it that these decks are worse? Because a lot of people thought like Oil Rogue and Handlock would want Emperor, for example.
Yeah, well, Handlock has kind of fallen down on the downside, at least on the ladder, until you get to like Legend or like 5 and above. Like Handlock almost doesn't exist before that because A, it's too slow to play. B, you need to. It's pretty dust intensive, and there's a lot of reasons why people don't play Handlock at low ranks. But I've not seen it at all. I don't think this season. Oil Rogue was like, I don't want to say hands down, but pretty close to hands down, like the top deck of pre-BRM. And it's just not there. Like I've been playing it a little bit, but it just seems like the meta has kind of shifted a little bit. Like we'll talk about what's being played more, but like the decks that are being played more now, Oil Rogue is not the best against. Factor in the fact that people want to play the new cards in Oil Rogue besides Gang Up, which isn't really that good in Oil Rogue, was kind of a miss.
Right.
In terms of new cards. Same with Midrange Hunter, and honestly, same with Handlock. Like it's not really that much of a surprise when you think about it that these old decks that didn't see new cards aren't getting played as much because people just want to play with the new cards. Like
right.
Whether it's good or not, people want to play with the new cards they just got. So
yeah, Oil Rogue, I think, had started to taper off right before BRM. Like, as people played with it, they learned how to play against it. And it'd be like the win percentage on it dropped. But there was a good while where it was both the hardest deck to play and the best choice. So, I definitely agree with you. I think it's just kind of completely unrelated to BRM. Oil Rogue's been tanking.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, people want to play with the new stuff, and this got at most one card. Like, you might want to play Emperor in it.
Right.
And there's more exciting decks to play Emperor in, and we'll talk about those when we talk about the upward trending decks. And Handlock, I think, has just been being brutalized by the resurgence of Mage in ladder. It was always a dog to face Hunter, but you could make your peace with that and know that even at its most popular, you were still only playing it 50% of the time.
Right.
And the antique heal bots helped enough where it wasn't like an auto loss. You still had an outside chance. So I think that kind of just continues on as Mage and Hunter are now 2 of the most popular classes to play. They carry kill commands and fireballs and all this burn. And Handlock can't cope with that when they're burning themselves every turn,
Right.
And Midrange Hunter doesn't get helped by... It'll come back. It's not gone. It's not any worse.
The problem is that like Oil Rogue has been downtrending, but I don't think that the popular opinion is that it's been downtrending. And like last season, if you're playing Midrange Hunter, like your opponent plays Rogue, it's so bad because the sap is so good against high main, and like
Right.
that's really like the only reason to play the deck is
Right.
the high main. And like the burst damage of like the Rogue deck, just like it's so much, like you can't let any of their creatures live, and Hunter doesn't really have that great of removal unless you're going to use your kill commands on the creatures, in which case your speed goes down, and if you're going to the long game against Rogue, you're not winning. So like the matchup against Rogue, not very good. The mid-range Hunter deck might actually be a decent choice now. It's just I just haven't seen. I don't think I've seen a Savannah High Main get cast this season.
I was just going to say, what wins in the mid-range versus Face Hunter matchup?
I mean, I want to say that it's Face Hunter. If given equal skill of the deck and like average draws from both. I want to say it's Face Hunter, but I could be wrong.
The mid-range hunter is kind of fun to me. Like, I almost enjoy it.
The mid-range hunter is quite fun, and like I've seen decks play Mukla, man.
Yeah.
Forsen played a Mukla.
He's real life. Like, that guy's actually good.
Like you go Mukla into Houndmaster, like that's pretty strong.
Plus, like, as I get more gray hairs, I look more and more like Mukla.
And Mukla into Freezing Trap is really good. Like there's a lot, like Mukla is pretty sweet in that deck.
Yeah, he's literally, like, my Twitter used to be at @King_Mukla. Because I am a big fan of his. Did I sell it? No, I changed it to match my Twitter or my Twitch page.
That makes sense. Why didn't you just have your Twitch page be King Mukla?
Well, because you're making me get into this. Because I had a Hearthstone themed Twitch page before, and then I'm like, well, I want to stream Heroes. What if I want to stream WoW? So I felt like it was silly to shut up, Levins. You'll watch it and you'll like it. But yeah, so I switched so that way I could kind of have like a many game streaming platform instead of like, look, I have to play Hearthstone or I just got to shut my stream off.
Understandable.
All right, so
topic. I don't know why I went down that.
So increasing in popularity, Face Hunter. I feel like the Hunter players just wanted to play with Quick Shot, so that's what they did for the week. Then we have Zoo. We have Demon Lock and Control Warrior. All of them have, I think, seen an increase in play, and I added Control Warrior to John's list, and I'm curious what he thinks of that and how much he's seen it. But I've seen it kind of a lot. I still mulligan for that over the Deck Tech, which we'll be talking about soon. But yeah, so John, talk to me about this list and why these decks are increasing.
Yeah, like I said before, I think Oil Rogue has been on the descent, but I don't think it's people's opinion that that's the case. And Face Hunter is a pretty good choice against Rogue, because the Rogue deck kind of went more towards the mid-rangey, like, value style of play, where they're not necessarily playing 2 Phantom Knives, they're playing Earthen Ring Farseers instead of anti-heal bots, and possibly only 1 Farseer. And they're playing like Edwin Van Cleef and like stuff like that, like this like value mid-range stuff that's really just trash against Face Hunter. So if you're expecting to play against a lot of Rogue and Oil Rogue, like you actually can outrace them. So like the Face Hunter is pretty good against that. It's also, I'm guessing it's probably pretty good against that. I forgot to put this on the list. The Tempo Mage deck has been on the uprise too, so it's pretty good against that. I guess if Zoo's a deck still, I really don't have an answer for why Zoo has come back. But Face Hunter's good against Zoo, and also it's the classic. It's the beginning of the season, and a lot of people just want to get to rank 10 instantly.
Right.
So they just play Face Hunter. Like if I didn't have Golden Hunter right now, I would always be starting the season with it. And I like to say that's the reason I'm not like rank 5 yet, but that's also bad.
I definitely. We can't all be Lucids. He's a jerk and needs to lose more. But I definitely agree with the fact that it belongs on this list, Zoo that is, and I definitely can't answer as to why either. It's funny too because at the start of the month I'm like, maybe I'll play some Zoo because I really need to play aggressive aggro style decks, and just Zoo is the controlliest aggro that you can possibly hope to play. So I thought I was going to lean towards that, and then it turns out that it's starting to get a little bit better, which I thought was curious as well. Demon Lock is only going to get better too. Like, are they just prepping for Imp Gang Boss before they get it? Because
I kind of think that's what they're doing. And actually, I was watching Orange's stream the other day, and he had Tempo Mage built, and people were asking like, "Why are you playing Tempo Mage? Is it good now?" And he's like, "Good now." And he goes, Well, me and my buddy tested this for like 8 hours before BRM came out, and like the first week of BRM, and he goes, because we thought Flame Waker was getting released on the first week, but it's actually not until like the fourth week. So he's like, well, we played this for a while, we know all the matchups, so we might as well just keep playing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what people are doing with their Demon Lock decks and their Zoo decks, is they're just prepping for the Imp Gang Boss, which I think is coming out this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is as well. Yeah, it's like the only card I'm actually excited about. But we'll be talking about that at the end of the show here as we continue to kind of stretch on to make up for the 20 minutes we lost for you YouTube guys. New players on the deck are this Mill/Fatigue Rogue that we already talked about when we reviewed Gang Up, but we'll talk about it a little more since that is part of the cutoff. It was like the last thing we talked about before Twitch died. So we're starting to see these Mill and Fatigue Rogue decks see play that gang up on a Cold Light Oracle or an Ancient Healbot and prolong the game, ending it by you have no cards left in your deck, I've killed absolutely everything you play, and ending the game through actually fatiguing out the opponent. And it's not the best. Like, we were talking about how we were kind of disappointed with Gang Up. We were both really excited about it. And it did not quite live up to our expectations, but it has been good enough to fuel this resurgence because, boy, it's fun.
Yeah. And the deck name is so sweet. The Gang Up style deck it's like such a good deck name that it has to be playable, right?
Opa Gang Up style, man. Gotta do it. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. It's kind of hard to like advise how to beat it because they're going to prep Vanish, but at the same time, you got to get cards out of your hand and you have to pressure them as much as you can. So it's almost like play into the prep Vanish play because you force them to have it early or they take too much damage and then they run out of it faster than they can mill you. So it's not really like, it's kind of cut and dry. It's just, is it good enough? Do you play it well enough? I feel like it's eggs for the most part.
Oh yeah, it kind of is like eggs.
Yeah, if there's any Magic players out there, if not, don't worry about it. Just know it's like the most difficult and boring deck on the planet to play in Magic.
That deck was so great.
I clearly specialized in it because why wouldn't I?
Surprisingly enough, so did I.
I went to a PTQ with that deck. I'll be real brief with this, I promise, if you don't like Magic. But I went to a PTQ with that deck and played the mirror match round 1 and round 3. And this was back when it was in extended, so I was playing with like the real eggs.
Oh, okay.
And like Crosant Wayfarer was in my deck, and the Crosant Wayfarer was literally why I won both of my mirror matchups. But my opponent cast a Cunning Wish, and 45 minutes later it resolved, and I'm not kidding you. We were in time, turn 4 of turns, and it was the end of my opponent's turn, and it took 45 minutes for a spell to resolve in Magic. It was like the greatest day of my life, because by the time he resolved his Cunning Wish, he was under an Orim's Chantlock on his end step. So, funny Magic stories aside, we're going to move on and talk about the other new deck on the metagame, and that's, wait for it, oh god.
Everyone, get in here!
Ah! So we're obviously going to show you all the very important cards in the Grim Patron deck. But John, tell us a little bit about what this deck does, and I will show you the actual honest-to-God deck tech picture for it.
Yeah, so it works around, this is kind of the Kripparrian combo-ish style deck.
This is Crip's list, exactly.
Okay, good. So it's based around having Warsong Commander and Grim Patron out. So you play the Warsong Commander, you play the Grim Patron, it gains charge. You attack the Grim Patron into one of their guys.
Everyone, get in here!
It makes another one. That one gains charge.
Everyone, get in here!
Just keep talking, John. I'm going to keep doing it.
That one gains charge. You attack into another one of their guys. That one makes a new guy, etc., etc. You get a bunch of guys. You play. Does this one play Knife Juggler? No. You can throw Commanding Shout into that mix, and then you can just attack into anything, and they always stay alive, and they still proc a guy. You can play cards like Whirlwind, so that if you have two of them out and they both survive, well, then they both spawn one, and you get two more. Or all these cards that do self damage. Commanding Shout. You can play Bouncing Blades, which works really nicely with it. Although I found that you just automatically hit the worst RNG, and it just instantly kills your Grim Patron. It doesn't even give you a third or like a second or third one.
3 straight shots to the Warsong Commander. Oh, that'd be so bad.
I've had they have like 2 guys out, and it just 1, 2, 3 is the Warsong Commander. I've had that happen multiple times, so I cut it from the deck. Because I think that they program the RNG to kill you. I don't think it's truly random. But, put your tinfoil hats on, boys.
It's just against you, actually. It's
That's
not
just you.
Not everybody.
But yeah, it's basically meant to have a bunch of Grim Patrons attack, clear their board, attack the face, lather, rinse, repeat. You've got Wild Pyromancer in there so that you can always have that whirlwind effect. And yeah, the deck is super fun. I know you played it a little bit more than this version, a little bit more than I have, Jim. What did you think?
Well, I started out 7-0 on ladder with this beast. And it was just a whole lot of fun. So some tips and pointers for if you're playing it. If you're on 8 mana and you have an Inner Rage in your hand and a Death's Bite ready to activate, Inner Rage before you Death's Bite, because you'll have an extra guy on the board and you'll end up with 4 of them instead of just getting a second one and then a third one, so you actually get a better one. So sequencing is really important, and keep an eye open for it. But yeah, I mean, you survive and you live and you draw cards off the Acolytes, the Armor Smiths, and the Whirlwinds. So you kind of have this regular warrior feel to it, right? So the opponent doesn't necessarily have to know what's about to happen to them until it happens to them. It plays Emperor, so you can just reduce the cost of the combo in your hand and allow you to get even more ridiculous with it. And when you do play the Commanding Shout, I just wanted to point out that it took me a bit to realize what was happening. If the Grim Patron already has 1 health when you cast the Commanding Shout and then deal damage to it, it's not going to duplicate itself because that damage is prevented. It doesn't take any.
Really?
Yes. If, for example, you have a 3/3 Grim Patron and you Commanding Shout and you attack into a 7/7 Dr. Boom, per se, it will take 2 damage. And therefore it will duplicate itself. So it's all about that last point of damage. I was trying to figure out why a Wild Pyro didn't duplicate one of them, and I was losing my mind.
So something in Hearthstone actually makes logical sense for once.
Yes, it finally happened. We got there, boys. Yeah, so
Everyone, get in here!
try this deck and get ready to hear that sound over and over and over again. Basically mute your game and then play this deck because it's super fun.
Turn it into full volume.
If you're blinded.
I think that this deck is really cool, and this combo version is a really sweet idea. I'm really glad that the new cards have opened up the possibility of combo decks again, because I was talking about this last week. It always kind of boils down to everything being mid-range, and it's really just boring. With combo decks, even if it's not a 1-turn kill combo or an infinite combo, this sort of combo deck, even just for value, is really sweet, and they're my favorite types of decks to play. I actually found a list that is more of a mid-range mishmash. It's kind of it takes some of the elements of this deck and throws in the Piloted Shredders, Dr. Boom, and a little bit more mid-range stuff, so that you're not really solely focused on the Grim Patron combo. You just have that kind of in your arsenal of being able to clear their board and go off. I've actually been doing pretty well with that deck.
Yeah, and I've actually had some decent success with a very aggressive aggro version of this deck, where you're playing Leper Gnomes and You do play the knife jugglers, and you just get to go really, really aggressive with it. And then you're with that deck too. You're not even necessarily going to wait for turn 8. Like you're not going to wait for turn 8 to play either of the cards really. You might play an early value Warsong commander, and then just you're on 4 mana, so you get the Leper Gnome to give haste, and you just fly in there and hit them. I'll play it on 3 mana even if I know I'm going to have a good turn 4 that can use it.
True.
But and you can just, anytime you're going to duplicate the patron with the aggro version, you just do. But yeah, there's not a lot of ways for the metagame to answer the Grim Patron right now. Paladins, for no reason whatsoever, I've been saying it, have stopped playing 2 equalities. What are you doing, Paladins? Stop it right now.
No, keep it up, because I'm playing Grim Patron. I don't want to play the deck.
I'm almost to the point of leaving the Grim Patron world for a little while to try to actually do some better ladder progress. Even though I'm sitting at 7-3 with the deck.
I'll ship you the mid-range one. I think it actually has legs.
I definitely want to take a look at it. Maybe we can test it after the after show or during the after show or whatever. At some point soon, we'll test it. 'Cause I'm very open to it. I just think people are going to learn to play around it. And the Chinese priest, for example, doesn't play Auchenai Circle, doesn't play the class's only way to deal with this entire board at once.
Right.
So half the priest decks now don't beat you or don't have any answer to you.
It still has Light Bomb.
That's true. Yeah, Light Bomb does take care of it. But on 6 mana, I don't know. It's a lot less, especially with the aggressive version of the deck.
Yeah, for sure.
But the funniest thing I've seen happen with this deck was somebody got it down to 3-1, made 1 million of them, and then attacked into a piloted shredder, and it brought up a unstable ghoul, and and set him off again. It was just the funniest thing I've ever seen. No deck has ever had more stacking damage at the end of the game BM potential than this deck has. That's another thing going for it.
Making an annoying noise BM potential.
Oh, I think it's got that one on lockdown.
Get in here!
So now we're going to go ahead and move on and take a look at what we're getting this coming week from the new wing of Naxxramas, which is Molten Core, by the way, where Ragnaros comes from, and Major Domo would have been the second last boss if you're a WoW fanatic or former WoW player like myself, though I'm still a current WoW player, so take that for what it's worth. Anyways, so we get Druid of the Flame. 3 mana, and it's a 2/2 on face, but never actually a 2/2, because you get to pick whether it comes into play as a 5/2 or a 2/5. So this is always a 2/5, and talk about it, John. It's also a beast.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it last week. If the Druid decks, if there ever happens to be a deck that wants the beast in Druid, like a Druid of the Snake or whatever it's called, deck.
I know what you mean.
This guy is definitely good in that he's a beast in Druid. His stats are just kind of underwhelming. I don't we talked about it last week. I don't know if you ever want this instead of Shade of Naxxramas. I guess in against aggressive decks you do, but then I don't know if you ever want it over Sen'jin Shieldmaster. It kind of seems like it's in between two kind of rocks that are pretty heavy pillars of what you want in Druid, and I don't know if this fills any role whatsoever for those.
Yeah, if for whatever reason the metagame goes crazy aggro, you'll see a ramp Druid strategy play like this instead of, but like you said, we talked about this last week, so we don't need to go into too much detail. Decent card, just on the outside edge of not playable. And something that has the potential to see play later, but probably won't. Blackwing Technician, if you're holding a dragon, this 3 mana 2/4 gains +1/+1. A card we talked about a lot, and I think it's going to have 0 impact right away.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any dragons yet. You need Hungry Dragon, you need Volcanic Drake, you need all these other dragons that are going to come out later on in Blackrock Mountain to fill out your curve and actually make this potentially good. Anything to add there, John?
Yeah, I still think it's just a it's a pretty big hurdle to jump through to be better, like marginally better than a spider tank. I mean, the 5th toughness is quite good. And I guess like if your dragon deck really needs to eat through piloted shredders, then I guess this guy is probably where you want to be. I just don't know if you need to do that because your dragons pretty much already eat piloted shredders, right? Like, I don't know. It's definitely not the most exciting card, but it might be a role player.
Right. It has an opportunity coming up in the wing where we unlock Dragon Consort. We'll probably be talking a lot about the decks where this guy can potentially see the most value.
Right.
But the next card we're going to look at, and I love that it's sitting right next to Blackwing Technician, is Imp Gang Boss. It's a 3-mana 2/4 demon. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 1/1 imp. So it is just about guaranteed to be a battle-cried Blackwing Technician with upside.
Yeah. This guy is definitely going to do a lot of work. He fills out your curve very nicely in the Demon Lock deck. He makes your AOE, your Hellfire better. He's really great if you throw I still don't know what the name of that card is, Demon Kidney or whatever, Demon Liver, I don't know, the smaller Demon Heart. He's really great if you throw one of those on him. I mean, he gets better in the future when they put more demons and more things that are pumped from the demon tribal type. He's just overall really good.
Yeah, he's like you say, he's a solid role player, but better than like he's actually a role player. He's got a job to fill. He's needed in the curve for the deck that he's going to be played in, for the decks he's going to be played in. Like, they have nothing to do on 3, and their hero ability costs 2, so it's just kind of awkward to use it. And it's got upside. Like, if you're playing against Paladin, I'll pick off your 1/1. Joke's on you, because now I have an army. And yeah, it's just going to be a really strong Warlock minion. It'll be played in Zoo. It'll be played in Demon Lock. It might see some play in some form of Handlock. I'm really not very good with Handlock. I just play it decently enough where I can take it to a tournament and like learn its matchups on the fly. I don't know them off the top of my head and don't keep up with it, but yeah, just a really strong card here that will help diversify the Warlock class quite a bit, as well as shore up some of the older forms of the deck, which, Zeus, we talked about it as a deck on the rise, but, we even predicted it might be because this card's coming, and it logically fits so well.
Yeah, I think it might be, it's probably a little bit better than Harvest Golem in the Zoo deck because of the demon class, because it just has a higher potential to do more than Harvest Golem, and also the fact that it pumps out more 1/1s makes like your Direwolf alphas even better. Like I think it definitely will. It's definitely going to do wonders for Zoo.
Yeah, well, as we welcome back Twitch, which finally just started to work again, we take a look at Major Domo Executus. 10 out of 10 on the coolness scale. We'll have to wait and see where it falls on the playable scale. It is a 9-mana 9/7 with the Death Rattle to replace your hero with Ragnaros the Fire Lord. Die, insect. That's what I have to say to that.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, super cool. Sweet. He would be just incredible if you kept your damn armor.
I know.
But you
don't.
Okay,
so we know how it's just become a thing that I always have to come up with the Blevins Corner case of, it says this, but does it actually mean this? Or would this weird thing that it almost certainly doesn't work? So, can you BGH the Ragnaros hero? That's the question. Maybe you can, maybe you can't.
So it remembers that it's a demon so that you can sacrificial pact it.
Pact Draxus. So like, if you would have asked me like the first week I saw Jiraxis, like, oh, can you sacrificial pack the Jiraxis? I'd be like, of course not. What are you, stupid? That doesn't make it. Wait, what? You can't, like, I remember the first time I saw a video of that happening, I laughed for a solid 2 minutes. And I was like, man, this game's awesome.
That actually happened in a tournament, like in the Handlock Mirror. The guy won on his sacrificial pact. Like a couple weeks ago, Ruben Bressler was commentating in it, so I saw him tweet about it. And yeah, it was super funny. But yeah, anyways, so just a really cool card. Like I said, it would be awesome in Control Warrior if you could have like 45 armor and then death rattle this guy, and all of a sudden you're just have the best hero ability in the game possible. But you will lose your armor as long as it works like Jiraxis does, because I've seen that test play out where Jiraxis had armor and it did not go well. So we'll have to wait and see if it finds its way into something playable. Like, people are really down on it, and I don't think that's right. Like, there's times you don't have 8 life, so it's good.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's worth the inclusion in the deck in the first place. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess so, but it is one of those things where it, like, I don't know, you play it and it doesn't happen, right? So they have to answer the 9/7. So, right. You know, there's really good board states against, let's say, Face Hunter, where you kind of want to play this dude, right? Like, I don't know. I could get myself to a spot where I can see that he could be constructed playable. He's not going to be like Emperor, where he's like a no-brainer inclusion in half the decks that want to play things that cost 6 or more mana. He's going to be a special case. He fits in this deck, and I don't see where it is now, but I just think it's possible now or down the line that somebody finds a good home for him.
It is worth noting that you can Alexstrasza yourself to 15 while you're Ragnaros.
Yes. So you can go back to 15, and also you can stack armor on him after you do it. You know what I mean? You can activate his Death Rattle yourself and then go shield block, armor up, and have a lot more life. So it's, like I said, there's going to be times
not out of the realm.
Not at all. Like, really late against, if it's a really control-heavy metagame, or maybe tournaments is the best place for this. Like Warrior versus Priest, if that's a common matchup in tournaments, the Warrior just plays Major Domo and wins.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe that's where we see it. We see it in some tournament play, and we don't see it much elsewhere. We have a couple class cards, too, to take a look at. Curiously, Axeflinger might be able to find a home in some Grim Guzzler-based strategy. Not Grim Patron. Wow, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
Grim Guzzler is the boss you play against to get Grim Patron.
Yes. Yeah, Axeflinger is a 4-mana 2/5. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. We did do the testing to see if we Commanding Shout, Bouncing Blades, Axeflinger's the only thing there. How dead's my opponent? He's not that dead, and BattleNet will crash if you try it, so don't do it. That's what happened to us in the after show, at least. Yeah,
the US server will crash.
Yeah, we broke Hearthstone. You're welcome. So this is not the best class card in the world. It is a common, so it doesn't have to be. I think it'll be good in Arena, but I don't see it as a major constructed player. I don't think the Grim Patron deck will want to do it. Maybe if it could randomly hit any character instead of have to hit the hero.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
It is nice that, it's surprisingly nice that he has 2 attacks, so he does get Warsong commandered, although could have just made him 3 attack, and then I think he'd be fair at 3 as a 3/5. That's a Violet Teacher stats. I don't think he's better than Violet Teacher.
No, and wouldn't be there either.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, and I don't think that Warrior needed him. Like, Kron Elite's pretty good. So, I don't know. People are just going to, like, play that if they want something that deals damage to your opponent's face at 4 mana in Hunter. Or Warrior.
Right. I feel like this set really kind of put the stakes in to define what the, like, this is what Rogue does, this is what Warrior does, this is what Warlock does. Like, Warrior is we deal damage to ourselves and we do things because of that. Like it's been like kind of a theme before, but like this set really like supplanted that with like all the class cards. Although I don't really know what they did for Druid. I guess Druid is like we have bears and trees on fire. I guess
We fold the BGH.
we we fall to BGH. Yeah, but like this guy is definitely in that theme. Obviously, he's not super powerful, but I think if he made like a fun combo deck, that it would be fun. But I don't know if he's gonna make it to the tournament scene.
Yeah, I can't imagine we see him too much, but I do think we have a really good chance to see a lot of these Lava Shocks. It's a 2-mana spell for Shamans that deals 2 damage and unlocks your overloaded mana crystals. According to Ben Brode, this unlocks this turn's overloaded mana crystals and next turn's overloaded mana crystals, which is quite a big deal. And makes a world of difference for how good this card is. And I'm not sold that it's like broken, right? But I'm really excited for the potential to have Shaman be like a top tier like laddering class again. It sees its moments in the sun in tournament play, and they never last long enough for it to be a real player on ladder. So I would love to see a really good overload centric Shaman deck have some success in ladder, and if it has any success early, it'll be by me because I'm going to be playing it.
Yeah, I think the other class card that we'll be getting in, I don't know what week it is, but one of these next weeks, the other Shaman class card is definitely going to help that.
Yeah.
As well, and I think that Lava Shock, like you said, really makes this overload based strategy, if not completely viable, definitely more viable than it is now.
Yeah, and really there's not too many viable ways to play Shaman at the moment. And really what's game breaking about it is that it's this turn and next turn too. So you get multiple opportunities to really do some damage with it, and or to really abuse it, I should say. And you've got a couple turns and like a couple extra draws to shore up the ability to get the most out of it. So it'll be really strong, and like you said, Shaman will only get even better again. I think it's in 2 weeks we get the 4-drop. But yeah, dust off your Unbound Elementals because Overload Shaman is going to make a comeback.
Wait, no, don't dust off. No, don't dust them. Undust them. Craft them.
Well, dust off, don't dust them. Like, yeah. Break them out of the binder and put them into sleeves, theoretically.
Put them in the card back.
All right, well, as we move towards the end of the show, we're getting back to the normal kind of segments that we do on the show, and we wanted to take a little bit of time here to recognize a personal friend of ours who streams, and very recently, last month actually, hit Legend for the first time. So congratulations to Aflex. Yeah, there's a link to his stream down below under the Stream Team section. This is what I would consider a personal friend of mine at this point, despite having never met him. Just a super good guy, and love what I mean. He's got a little son. I think it's a son. I don't know. I don't often see the baby on stream.
I've heard him talk about him.
Yeah, so and he would just love to turn streaming into something that can actually help him out and benefit his family, and I just want to support him any way I possibly can. So in honor of him finally not being terrible anymore and making it to Legend, we wanted to share his stream with you guys. So please go give him a follow. You open a new tab though. Don't leave our stream. We're still doing our show, and you guys are back. So please do, and tell Aflex we sent you. He's always one to give shout outs and interacts with his chat all the time. He's got just the worst taste in music, but we can forgive that. He
listens to fine music.
He does to most people, just not to me.
Aflex is so like I've seen at least a couple of streamers go from like the oh, I'm one of the like 15 people in their chat to they now get hundreds regularly. And people change. Like they'll say that they won't, but they change. Like once you get to a certain threshold and you get a certain number of viewers and you get a certain number of like randoms in your chat, and
Hmm.
it's not just the people you see every day, you change. Your stream changes. Aflex is one of the very few people. I think him and PJ, Peach in chat. I think here those two are two of the only guys who I could see literally just never changing, like always being the same, loyal to the stream, like honestly and genuinely just love streaming and love the chat, love the people that come to their channel, truly appreciative of every view that they get, whether it's one or whether it's 1,000 or a million. You know, they are just as appreciative every time. And you know, Aflex is definitely one of the few that I see that is actually like that. So,
Yeah, the
congrats
only
to him for getting
thing.
legend. Congrats to him for getting the streamer spotlight finally from us. We had to wait till you got legend. Now all he needs to do is grow out a sick beard, and we can finally put me to pasture.
You always steal my jokes. I was gonna say we weren't gonna spotlight him until he grew a beard, um, but he got legend, so we wanted to celebrate it. No, I think the only thing about him that would change with the number of people in his chat is at the end of the stream he wouldn't literally thank every single one of you individually.
I can see him
Um,
doing it. I
what
kind of
would
want to do that as a gag, just
you
like
do like
read
two
off a
games?
thousand names real quick.
2 games, and as soon as like 400 people get there, he's just like, all right, so I got 5 hours of personally thanking you guys.
Do a 4-hour stream, and it's all thanks.
Right.
I can see him doing it.
Yeah, like once a week he probably would. But yes, great guy, personal friend of mine. Stop by, let him know we sent you, and that's also his the same end of after.tv slash. That's his Twitter handle as well. So
Yeah.
you can find him on there, and he's always pointing out other streamers, viewers of his that stream things like that. So he'll help you find other people to watch when you're bored as well. So we're moving on. If anybody has any questions about what's going on with the current meta, what's going to be happening in tomorrow's meta game as we get the new sets, please do feel free to send them out there. I do think we had one question that I answered in chat already because it was earlier, but yes, it's I'm about to get 700 gold. Should I get the first wing of Nax or BRM? What do you think, John?
Is Lotheb in the first wing of Nax?
No, Megsna is.
Okay, then it's definitely BRM. Because the
So
only thing that's even close to the power level of Emperor, well, if this were months ago, the only things that would be close to Emperor's power level are Lotheb and Undertaker. Undertaker is no longer a thing, and Lotheb is not in the first wing. So Emperor takes the cake over I think literally every other card in Nax, Emperor is better than, except for Lotheb, maybe.
yeah, for sure. That was definitely the answer I gave him too. But also make note, I don't think you have to buy, the first wing first right after, it open. I'm sorry, the first wing of Nax before you can open like the second or the third wing. So do keep
I
that
have
in
no
mind
idea.
as these other wings go. Like maybe it's best to, I mean, not this one because Major Domo's weak and all you're really getting, I think, is the demon card at least right away. I guess the shaman card. So if you really wanted to play shaman, you could consider this wing. But look for the specific cards you need and for your decks and open them in that order. Don't necessarily worry about going first to last either.
Yeah, and I always tell people to focus on neutral cards before class cards, even if you are dead set on playing this class, playing mage, and not like people always are like, oh, I want to craft the Antonitis. I'm like, well, craft Dr. Boom first. Like,
Right.
don't craft your Antonitis first. There's really no reason to do that. Like, always go for neutral cards first. But long story short, do the first wing of BRM to get Emperor, and then probably the Lotheb wing of Nax Although I honestly have no idea if you can open them out of order. I would hope that you can, because it doesn't really necessarily make sense to make you go through the whole thing. But if you can open up the Lotheb wing, open up that before anything else attacks.
I think I've heard of other people talking about, which wing they should open in what order. And I think for some reason I want to say like Lotheb and Sludge Belcher are in the same wing, so that might actually...
they are, and then it's definitely... Oh, actually, now that's a fight that might actually be worth considering. If it's Lotheb and Sludge Belcher versus just Emperor and I guess Grim Patron, I might actually lean back towards the Nax wing now that I think about it.
It's very possible, but it certainly depends on what decks you want to play. So give that some thought and don't rush into the decision, because 700 gold doesn't come back again super, super fast, in my experience anyways.
If you don't play Arena, you're not going to get 700 gold very quickly.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm taking a look at Twitter, which is one way you can send questions in to us at the end of the show. And if you're watching live on Twitch chat, you can send them in there as well. And I don't think we have any more. Now, John, we give away a free card pack every single episode, and we skipped that last week. So we don't have one to actually give away. But what we do want to do is tell you that if you follow us on Twitter, and it's right over there, and I pointed correctly, so I'm super proud of myself.
Camera's not on.
But if you follow us on Twitter over there, tomorrow morning I'm going to tweet that the episode has hit YouTube. And what that means you can do is you can retweet it and be entered for a chance to win the pack. You do also need to be following the show. We will verify that. Hopefully John has the ability to use the computer again because I can't imagine trying to balance everything else and do the drum roll sound effect and generate the random number and figure everything out. But we will make do, as awkward as it gets for me. So yeah, and the more of you that retweet, the less likely it is that Alex Bianchi wins, and nobody wants that to happen. So
no. We had to give one to Sai, but that was pretty awful as well.
Yeah, not anything John wanted to do. So let's get some more of you randos in there, so we don't have to give free things to our friends anymore. We don't like them that much, I assure you. All right, so we do have one more thing we do every week before the close of the show, and that is we're going to stump the Blevins.
Oh, I was hoping you'd forget.
Oh, of course I'm not going to forget. So the way this works is Jim names a card, and Blevins has to accurately imitate the card's sound effect. It can be when he enters play or when he attacks. In the event of a guy like this,
Everyone, get in here!
we would accept that, even though it is the trigger sound effect. It's neither the comes into play
A fight! Count me
or the attack.
in! Pile on!
Okay, so typically, though, the death sound effect is not memorable or entertaining, except for the most awkward sound in all of Hearthstone, and clearly our favorite. So what we're going to do is I've picked two random cards, not necessarily random, they have to be playable, so that way John's had the appropriate amount of time to learn the effect or learn the sound. So the card I'm going to give you first is a 4-mana common Cult Master.
Oh, I don't know which one is which, but it's join or die, or both.
Join or die, or both.
All right, so John gets that one and the attack for anybody curious.
Who's next?
All right, so I don't even remember that because that guy just instantly dies right away.
Yeah, he's never attacked once.
Right, he's basically Mr. T in the sense that you kill him immediately.
I have no idea what Mr. T's attack animation sounds like, other than it sounds a lot like my opponent's portrait exploding. It's never actually happened.
Right, he just concedes when he can't kill it.
Yeah, his attack animation is different for each class because it's usually like, well fought, I concede.
Right. So we have one more card we're going to do, and this one is from the basic set. You cannot open this card in a pack, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to make 2-mana 1/1. Hit me with Novice Engineer, please.
can get my voice to do that.
It means he knows
I
it.
hope you like my invention.
I hope you like my invention.
So he sounded a lot more like a guy than Novice Engineer does, but to be fair, Novice Engineer is female, so wasn't the most spot-on impression, but he did a really good job of trying to get there, and we're going to give him the credit anyways, because, like you said, I don't know that his voice could actually get to that register.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that.
And just on the off chance you ever actually want to attack with this guy, she double checks to make sure you're sure.
Oh, if you're sure.
It is worth noting that Novice Engineer and I have the same haircut right now.
Yeah, for the most part. It's pretty accurate. We just got to dye it blue. And I don't know, scrap it. No cosplay for you. We're not shaving the beard. It's not happening. And then I'd need to find a whole new co-host.
Novice Engineer cosplay for Frito.
When you get my Twitch page to 10,000 follows, I will buy and make John Ware a Novice Engineer cosplay. So yeah, make that happen, guys. I'm pretty sure I could get him to sell his soul for my Twitch famedom.
That is true, I would.
Yeah, because I'd just host him and then it would all flow downhill to him anyways. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the show. If you are watching live on Twitch, please do stick around because we are going to be doing the after show. We're going to be playing the Kill Yourself format where I'll be trying to kill me and John will be trying to kill John. We had a lot of fun testing it, and we thought you guys might enjoy watching it. So we'll be back to do that. YouTube land, we love you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys next week. Hopefully Twitch doesn't die in the middle of the episode.
Yeah. See you guys next week. Thanks, guys.
Everyone, get in here!
Yes.
I hope you like my invention.